Hello and welcome to So Many Games, independent video game coverage from a passionate group of people. Please check out everything we do at somanygames.co.uk. My name is Jason and episode 17 of the podcast brings a conversation with Yacht Club Games founder and director Sean Velasco and game designer Alec Faulkner. In the interview, we touch upon many aspects of the development of their upcoming Zelda-like Mina the Hollower, including design choices, the game's delay, its burying gameplay, and much more. It was such a treat to talk to Sean and Alec, and I would just like to thank them for their time and generosity in sharing the information they did. I'd also just like to thank the amazing Luna from the media team at Yacht Club Games for helping to set this up and for securing some of the music from the Mina the Hollower soundtrack that you will hear in this episode. They went above and beyond while all in a supportive and friendly manner, and I am very grateful to them. But before we get into the interview, I would just like to mention our Patreon. If you would like to support us, this would be the best way to do it, and a revamp of the tiers and offerings are on the way, starting from June the 1st. We have decided to simplify our offerings slightly with just 2 tiers to choose from, plus some other small changes that we hope will be of benefit to you. The newsletter is also moving to Patreon, so everything is in one place. Plus, it makes for archiving the issues a much simpler process. A massive thank you goes out to our current Patreons, John, Ruz, Keris, Antonia, Shy Guy, Brian, and we welcome new member, Opera Queen. You guys rule, and we're incredibly lucky to have your support. Please check out patreon.com/somanygames to see everything we have to offer. A link can also be found in the show description. If supporting us monetarily isn't right for you right now and you still like to help, then a glorious 5-star rating and review would be amazing. And please tell anyone you think that would be interested in our work. We would really appreciate it. Okay, with all that said, let's jump into my conversation with Sean and Alec on Mina the Hollower.
Alec Faulkner. I'm a designer at Yacht Club Games. That means everything from coming up with new enemies and objects and ideas and boss fights to putting all the levels together, or just generally whatever needs getting done. That's what I try to do.
And I'm Sean Velasco, and I am a designer and director at Yacht Club Games. And yeah, that's what I do. I design and I like oversee the project, which also involves like pulling like whipping everyone together and making sure we're all going in the same direction.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. It's an honour to have you on the podcast and get to talk to you. From Shovel Knight onwards, we've been following Yacht Club Games ever since, and it's bit of a pinch me moment, really, to get to talk to you guys in real time.
Cool. Well, we're looking forward to it.
Obviously, Mina the Hollower, it's finally here. It's going to be unleashed to the public probably next week from when this podcast releases. Must be a very exciting time to finally get it out there for everyone, and it's very exciting for us to finally be able to get to experience the full game. I'm quite intrigued. I'd like to go all the way back to where the idea for Mina the Hollower came from, how it progressed from that point.
Yeah, the story goes all the way back to 2018, I think. That's when the idea sort of formed. In 2019, especially as we were wrapping up Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, and doing our last promised updates with King of Cards and Showdown, we were thinking about the future. We knew we needed to make a 3D game since that had been in the pipe for a while. We've been working on a 3D engine on the side for a long time. But beyond that, we also wanted to continue making pixel art 2D games since we love those and we're really good at making them. So we devised a plan to do both, staff up a little bit, and have 2 projects going at once. Mina is one of them. The other is yet to be announced, but we will get back to that one day.
2018, that's wild. That's 8 years ago now. So for it to finally be unleashed must be quite wild for you.
Yeah, it's going to be weird not thinking about Mina the Hollower every day. I don't know what that looks like.
In your dreams. Yeah. But what's actually happening in Mina the Hollower? And what's the main gameplay hooks for anyone that's not aware?
Go for it, Alec. I mean, this is also like the genesis of Mina the Hollower.
Yeah.
This is a thing that you like made up.
I mean, at the start, we were thinking a lot about what our take on like a Zelda would look like. We're a very action-oriented studio. And so a lot of the thinking began with the combat. How could we make it more deliberate? We took a lot of inspiration from classic Castlevania games, not just for the setting, obviously, but the gameplay, the moment to moment combat, especially the push and pull, the requiring really deliberate spacing between you and the enemies. A game where you don't button mash, but you need to very carefully decide when to strike. The idea of like a top-down Castlevania, I think, was intriguing, and so it kind of went from there. Another element we thought we would need to introduce is something to make the moment-to-moment traversal interesting. In something like Link to the Past, you have the Pegasus boots that allow you to run really fast, but you crash into a wall. So you can always be trying to move in a way that you don't crash into things and you can move through the map quickly, or maybe you take those 45-degree angles and slide up them. And so there's fun there that can always be had. You're not just walking through the world by holding the D-pad and waiting. So burrowing was introduced initially as a means of solving that problem of having there to be something the player can always be optimizing and getting better at every single time they play the game.
And does that include like the combat as well? Like I feel like, I mean, you mentioned so much about the mobility, but like the verticality afforded by the burrow. I mean, basically it's like a jump in the opposite direction, right? And because when you're in a vertical, or because when you're in a top-down space, like in Super Mario, you could like go above or below things, but like now with the burrow, you could like go under things. You could actually like go underneath the enemy, which is like something that you couldn't normally do in a 2D game. I think when I first saw the Mina demo, that's what was striking to me. It's like, whoa, you could actually go under the enemy. You could like, you can traverse with different levels of verticality. That
Yeah,
seemed special.
the concept brings forth a lot of comparisons we can make to like 3D games, and a lot of gameplay it felt like we could adapt. And I think it also draws comparison to classic Castlevania, a game where you operate at two different heights, right? Sometimes you need to crouch to hit a thing, sometimes you need to stand. And so that idea also of having a game that like focuses more on that, staying at the correct height, was interesting as well. And being Zelda 2 fans, that should not come as any surprise.
I love you get a bit of Zelda 2 action in there. That's great. But it's really interesting, like you're saying about all that, and like, especially burrowing under an enemy. That really like sounds like you could really flesh that idea out. I assume that's probably what you did throughout the game. You know, did any kind of wild ideas come to you as you were like playing around with this mechanic?
Certainly. I mean, we made plenty of things that, like we approach any game, we try to create a large quantity of interesting enemies or interactions that utilize our core mechanic. So, initially, as we're doing the first levels, we're mostly focusing on the fun afforded by being able to, dodge enemies or avoid an encounter completely, or, get around things in a way that you normally couldn't in a similar game. And then, it's not long before we're bored of that and we're introducing stuff like metal floor that you can't burrow into, or enemies that will do an attack that, causes a shockwave along the ground that hits you in burrow, but like not while you're jumping. Once we establish the basics, we always like to subvert them. And yeah, it's not long before we were coming up with enemies that can grab you and pluck you out of the ground and throw you and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I think whenever designing an enemy or object in this game, we would think and ask ourselves those basic questions of, when you hit it with a regular attack with your whip or with one of the other four weapons, right? Like initially I was thinking about attacking everything from 2 tiles away, but there's like 5 different weapons, and how you approach the enemy is very different depending on how they are. But so anyway, how does your attack work with it? What happens with jumping? Like, can you jump over it, or how does jumping work? And then how does the burrow work? Can you burrow under it? How is the burrow involved with the gameplay? And then I guess the lesser order things were trinkets and sidearms, which all interact with the enemies and objects in weird ways. And then all the enemies and objects also like interact with each other, and so you had to keep that in mind also, like with your moves. So I would say, yeah, like we considered the burrowing mechanic along with a host of other things with the design of every single enemy. It's like, oh, how's the burrow going to work with this? Or sometimes we'd forget, and then it'd be like we put it in the game, and it'd be like, oh wait, shouldn't this work with the burrow? Right, this is like the burrowing game. So it wasn't always perfect, but we definitely tried to consider all of the mechanics every single time.
Yeah, because like, I'm just imagining that I could just burrow and then pop up under the enemy and just defeat it that way.
Right, but you can't. No, you get hit. It's like you get damaged if you burrow from underneath. But although there are some mechanics that allow you to damage enemies with your burrow from when you emerge, but if you are touching them, then you'll still hit. It's like you make a radial explosion. So it's like if you come out near an enemy, then you could hurt them. But we also have another trinket that makes it so you're invulnerable when you come out of your burrow. If you have both of those on together at once, then you could do exactly what you're talking about. But then you're wasting 2 of your valuable trinket slots.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a good character mobility also has weaknesses and strengths to every element. You know, if the burrow lets you go faster and is very evasive, there needs to be a downside, and that downside is you need to be careful about where you go. That's why enemies hurt you if you try to pop up underneath them.
And like you mentioned the trinkets, is that kind of like abilities? You know, is there Metrovania aspects running through the game at all?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We definitely didn't set out for it to be a Metroidvania, and this is not a game where it's like you get the hook shot and then you can cross the stumps. But it is a game where you get the hook shot and you can cross the stumps. It's just not required for the gameplay, right? And so you do get the ability to jump 5 tiles using a combination of things, or you do get the ability to hit a switch far away with a object, or with a some kind of there's a bunch of different ways to do it. And so a lot of times there is a gate that you could approach with many different tools, or it's like a shortcut that you could approach, like a big gap, and you could just cross it, or you go the long way around. So it's not exactly a Metroidvania, but it scratches a lot of that same Metroidvania itch. It feels, I think you could describe it as a Metroidvania now, but we didn't set out to design it like that at all from the get-go, which is like kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a Metroidvania where instead of saying, where's the super missile so I can open this door, it's a game where you look through your bag of tricks and you think, somehow, by putting these things together, I can create a super missile and get past this door. And 99 times out of 100, you already have the tools to do that. It's about creatively putting them together.
The flexibility in how you explore the world is one of the coolest things about the game. And I think that was largely emergent from all of the decisions that we made, as opposed to something that we set out to do from the get-go. We weren't like, hey, let's make a hook shot that lets you cross a gap.
From what I'm gathering, like with the trinkets, like mixing the trinkets together to make different outcomes that affect obviously the gameplay. Like, how hard was that to balance for the game? You know, because obviously, like I can imagine that some players could probably go a bit wild and kind of break it.
Not that hard, surprisingly. We're a big believer in establishing and sticking to a base set of metrics from the start. So we know no matter what, that when we implement this trinket or this idea, it will only allow you to go 3 tiles, or it only allows you to go 4 tiles. And should a programmer break that rule, that would be an issue. So we plan for a lot of it at the start.
When you put them together, the trinkets do sometimes have like a multiplicative effect, and that was something that we had to focus on, because none of the trinkets are mutually exclusive. You can have any of them equipped at once. There was an expectation, I think, like, oh, these 2 trinkets should work together, and sometimes that functionality didn't exist, and we like added it. And there were times where the trinkets were way too Like one of the trinkets is the vascular syrup. We constantly had issues with this trinket because when you get hit, it's impossible for you to die. It makes it so your health bar decreases slowly instead of instantly. And so as long as you heal before the bar gets down to zero, then you would be gold. And the problem was, I mean, obviously that's a problem, right? You could just mash your face against the enemy, and if you had a lot of vials, then you could just survive. We really had to keep nerfing it, and but then there were some people that couldn't use it effectively, and so those people wanted it to be buffed. I would say there was a large amount of balancing and like fun that went into arguing about making the trinkets better and worse. And we generally tried to make everything more overpowered, but still, like, yeah, like Alec was saying, like, we got rules.
Yeah, more often than not, a lot of that emergent fun it just seemed additive immediately too. It's like, oh, and you can do this and this. Well, maybe there's an issue there, but there's definitely fun here as well. So we know what direction to move in.
Some trinkets were too lame, and we like did a too lame trinket pass where we had to like add stuff to them to like make them better. And yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time making sure that each trinket felt unique and interesting, and that it could like work with other trinkets in the way that you might expect.
And was there any like trinkets that you were like, oh, I really want to put this in the game, but it was just too wild of an idea it literally would just break the game?
I don't know. We put in the trinket that lets you burrow into walls. So
yeah, we like deliberately chose some of the more difficult ones. Mm-hmm. I would say. Was there anything that was like too well? Okay, here's something that was too much. We have a trinket that gives you one more level of attack. It's called the lace glove. Adds one to your attack level. And there was supposed to be like the left lace glove and the right lace glove. And if you put them both on, then it was like this one gives you one attack, this one gives you one attack. And if you have them both, then maybe you could get 3 attack. It could be like additive. And we ended up with only one lace glove in the game because adding too much to the stats just totally broke how the game worked. So it's like, even though that's a boring example, adding 2 lace gloves, it was like too powerful, so we couldn't do it.
Yeah, most of the cuts that come to mind for me are the things that just seemed like a bad ratio of scope to amount of value we get out of it. There was one that was like written up where you would extract this like big glass sword from your underlab, and it shatters after only like 5 hits, but you get it every time you emerge from your underlab. And so part of the fun there is like, oh, I'm going to emerge here, try to get to the boss without attacking anybody. So I have my 5 like big, heavy glass sword hits. But then we look at it all and we think, okay, so we're making an entirely new weapon that the player can swing 5 times, and only if they have this 1 out of 60 trinkets. Let's cut that one, or let's like rework the idea into something that's more efficient.
Right, that's true. Like for scope reasons, we wouldn't want to have that. Or like if people had that sword, then they might want it like all the time, and it would be something that's like frustrating.
Yeah, that would be me. I'd always want the sword.
Right. Well, I'm sure there'd be a cheat for it where you could always have it.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's what I wanted to hear. But like obviously, Mina's a mouse, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Why a mouse out of all the rodents or animals you could choose from?
It started with the mouse as opposed to the burrowing. Initially I just needed a character to move around. I was mostly just messing around. I wanted to like program a collision system. I wanted to program a combat system, just to keep my skills from getting rusty, I suppose. And so, I looked at a scratch document of a bunch of characters I was already drawing. That one seemed like it had a strong silhouette, strong colors that stand in contrast to Shovel Knight, a character we already have. Shovel Knight's a human, Mina is an animal. It felt like that could be a good starting point to have a fun and cool, diverse cast of characters, which is a goal of our studio, slowly but surely, as we tackle new genres and make new games. And so, it was only after having that character walk around, start to whip things like a Belmont, that I began tackling the question of, how can the mobility be interesting? How can this jump be interesting? And it initially seemed to me that jumping from this like top-down perspective could be a little bit confusing. And so rather than really leaning into that fully and making a game like Shovel Knight where you're like bouncing on top of enemies and like judging that distance constantly, I thought maybe instead of like jumping over an enemy, you could jump under them. Then it's crystal clear exactly where your character is. And so that naturally turned into the burrowing mechanic, at which point I had to consider, okay, well, wait, if this is a game where you burrow, is a mouse like the most appropriate? Should it be like a mole? Should it be like a gopher? But I thought, nah, this is fine.
Yeah, that's cool. Because no, I was just curious because I didn't know whether there was a deep, meaningful choice behind it, or did you at any other point in the development like go, oh, I kind of wish I chose a different animal now.
Oh, she should be there's no like human Mina. That would be funny though. It's like, look, shouldn't she be like a human? There's like we should do like a retro or like a retroactive concept art that's like we were trying to decide between human Mina and mouse Mina, and she's like a girl with like a big head, like the same proportions, just I can imagine how funny it would look.
I kind of want to see that now.
I'm sure. I'm sure had we chosen that, it would have been really cool. I mean, yeah, I think being a contrast to Shovel Knight, that was also like a horror thing. Making it a mouse made it not quite so hardcore horrific. Like if you see like the mouse Castlevania, you're like, okay, I already like instantly like know what this is. It's like creepy. It's gonna be
it
creepy,
disarms a little bit.
Yes.
Obviously, we talked a bit about the trinkets and stuff as one of the mechanics in the game, but there is another mechanic that I'm quite intrigued about, and it's kind of like the accessibility features of the game with like the is it the pit sweat is what you call it?
Yep.
For someone like me who's not the best gamer in the world, it looked like it made the game much more accessible to me. What was the idea behind adding in this little feature to help like jump in and such more easier?
I think that's less so accessibility and more just like a well-rounded, very, very well-considered character mobility. Those types of little tweaks, I'd say, go into all of our games to make sure that the way we think is the most fun way to play the game is indeed the way that players will experience it. Removing friction where it feels like there shouldn't be any in the first place.
It's hard for things to feel intuitive, and it's impossible for something to feel intuitive to everyone, right? Like something can only feel intuitive if you've like done it before, or like if you look at it some certain way. Like putting that sweat in just helps. If you were already you might naturally try to walk out to the edge of the ledge, like if you're a Mega Man player, and jump off there, but you may not know where you are. The sweat like helps you. If Mega Man sweat, I mean that's like Sonic, where like doing this when he's like on the edge. I guess it's like the same. It's like the same thing, but it's a mechanic that fulfills the exact same purpose. And I mean, in the case of both, it adds like a cool character thing. Yeah, I mean the whole game, like everything. We're thinking about that like with everything, from the way that you buffer you're buffering your jumps, like when you jump and you like when you fall into the pit and you can jump back out of it, or the way that you like hang longer when you're going over things, or the way that you go faster when you're over regular ground. Just like, I mean, every single attack, the way that you turn, the way that the enemies work, the way that the sidearms work, all of that was like thought about either through pre-thinking about it and designing it, or through encountering it in the game and saying, hey, we need to make a polished change to this to like make the game play a little bit more smoothly. That's one of the things I think that made the game take so long, was there were so many different permutations of everything, and we needed to get all of them right. That the polish phase was just very extensive.
Would you say like Mina's a challenging game?
I'd say it's challenging in the same sense that Shovel Knight is challenging. Hopefully players will find that, it provides a fun challenge while always being fair about it. We don't take any pleasure in, messing with the player or pranking them. Ultimately we want our games to be classics that feel timeless.
No Team Cherry look at gaming then, with their sneaky benches and such.
Yeah, I mean, we'll always put, like, sometimes we'll put a cheeky enemy at the edge that comes at you right when you're jumping there, but we try and be fair about it. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Mina is it is like a truly challenging game. And I think that we've seen from the preview so far that people are like saying as such. But we do try and give you the tools to like figure it all out. Everything with all the trinkets and approaching it in different ways, all of the weapons. Like, we are trying to give you the tools to make it all work. And hopefully that's the fun of it for you. And if it isn't, then there are a lot of accessibility modifiers like that we touched on slightly before, like hundreds and hundreds of accessibility modifiers that can let you tweak the game to your preferences if it's something that if it's just not your jam.
No, that's really interesting. Like personally, like I'm always apprehensive about attempting a very, a challenging game, because I don't know if I've got the skill set to do what the game is asking of me, I guess. So, sometimes when I walk into a game like Silksong that doesn't have it does have accessibility options in the same way that Mina does, I guess, with the trinkets, and like Silksong had a similar kind of system to shape the game to your preference. But it's good to hear you guys have, just added all those little extra sliders in just to help us Mega players out a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's even more fun to be found in that system. We didn't want to just like make a menu that fulfills its rote purpose. It seems like an accessibility menu is a standard, is required in pretty much every game now. Like anything, though, we approached it from the perspective of how can we also make this really fun. And so there's a lot of neat stuff about it. There's like an achievement you can get for like beating the game with like with 3 modifiers enabled from like a category.
The weird category.
You get to look through those and go, like which of these do I think I could like beat the game with? What would be like a good set? And the amount of options in there is like truly staggering, and it's very you have a lot of precise control over tons of the game's systems. So I think there's also fun to be had for those that are aspiring game developers themselves to mess with all those toggles and remix the adventure in tons of different ways. If you think you can design a better game, you have the tools to do so. let us know how you like playing it.
And like for old heads like me that put Game Genie codes in, from a book and didn't have any idea what the hell might happen, this feels kind of like that as well. Like all of the modifiers are also, you can like enter them in as cheat codes and to toggle them on and off as well. So it's like experimenting with stuff like that and just like making weird versions of the game with giant enemies or different palettes or reversing, mirroring it all. There's a lot of fun, to be had there as well. But I think the accessibility was important to us. Because who knows where you're at in your life, right? Like my 6-year-old nephew can't play Mina, but it was important to me. Like, I kept going over there and he wanted to play it. I wanted to make sure that there was an experience that like he could enjoy as well. And without having to wait till he's grown up, or his parents for that matter, who are like lapsed. They played games when they were kids, but they are not going to beat Mina at its full difficulty either. So there's an assist mode for them that helps you get through a little bit more easily, but it's like a regular version of the experience. And then there's an explore mode, which is something that is for people that don't want to challenge and they just want to try the game. So it's like you can turn on walking over pits and you have infinite health and you can just like go through it and you can see it all and enjoy it. And I mean, like that's how my nephew likes playing it. And I played Contra 3 The Alien Wars on easy mode when I was a kid.
Blame you.
That's the only way I could get through it. But it was like my training wheels. And like then of course I could play like a full Contra now. So I don't know. It's like wherever you are, we want to meet you there. And that was something also that we didn't do with Shovel Knight, like that people couldn't play it. And so I'm happy that they can now with Mina. And
kudos to you for if you can still play Contra. My old man brain has long gone on that kind of game.
Oh yeah, I'll 3 credit that one for sure. Not one credit. No, 3
credit is still pretty impressive. I think I tried to play it actually a couple of months ago because my kid wanted to play Contra. We lost count in the amount of credits we would have gone through. It was quite painful.
That's so cool, though. That must have been so fun.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, Mina shares Shovel Knight's visual style with the 8-bit kind of graphics. I mean, was there a temptation at all to like go in a different direction with that, or was you like, no, we love the 8-bit, we're sticking with it?
I think we felt the temptation and we took it in some ways. Despite being 8-bit, we're not bound to the NES anymore. This one's more like Game Boy Color inspired. But beyond that, our studio has been working on a 3D game in the background for a while that, by necessity, of course, has a different art style. It's not pixel art. And so I feel like we're stretching those wings a little bit already.
This was a swerve, or not? It was barely a swerve, right? Game Boy Color style, slightly zoomed in compared to Shovel Knight. I mean, it seems like, well, no, it's a huge difference when, and now having gone through the process, like, that screen being having a smaller resolution just gives you less like real estate.
Yeah, the game is 144p.
Right. But that's cool. I mean, it was so fun to, I mean, the working within the limitations is like part of what makes the game so special. And yeah, making it like a Game Boy Color game, hitting that nostalgia instead of NES specifically. But I mean, yeah, we would never, I don't know. I guess but yeah, who knows? Hand drawn. What styles could we would we even do? This seemed like the perfect natural evolution.
You mentioned there a little bit about the limitations, obviously, of trying to make a Game Boy game. Was it ever a struggle? Did you kind of regret in some way sometimes trying to aim for that at all?
Was it a struggle? Absolutely. Did we ever regret that? I don't think so. Like Sean's saying, butting up against those constraints and coming up with creative solutions is like half the fun. Although, yes, there's many constraints.
Like the localization is just like a nightmare at such a tiny resolution because some, especially some words, like in German, when we're doing the German localization, it's like some stuff just it's literally it wouldn't fit. And
it's impossible.
I mean, we've localized lots of games before. We knew this was going to be a problem, but still, every time you run into it, and it's just like ugh. And the Chinese just can't be the same height. It had to be 1 or 2 pixels taller. So that meant that 3 lines in the boxes that were 3 lines had to become 2 lines, and sometimes we had to just extend the box. So it's like in all the different languages, it's all in different sizes. And if we didn't have such a tiny resolution, that none of that would have ever been an issue. We did things like implemented marquee scrolling for the German stuff, but then that feature, the marquee scrolling, ended up going into the whole game and improved it. So yeah, the tiny resolution. Well, I didn't even talk about the gameplay. Like how many times where it was like we want to see this idea. If only I had just one more space. If only I had just like one more tile. An enemy comes out of nowhere, and it's like you didn't even see him. So it's like we had to make sure that you could. Yes, it was.
Yeah. If your game's made of 16 pixel blocks and you have a HUD at the bottom. That's one of them, right? You got 8 tiles remaining. Usually
8 by 16. 8 by 16.
Usually
right?
You're in a room with walls. So put a wall at the bottom. That's another tile. Put a wall at the top. That's another tile. Now we're down to 6 tiles of space you have to work with to make, an engaging, fun, interesting, different level layout that provides a different challenge than the other 1,000 rooms in the game. Right. But I love that.
Yeah, that's why it was important not to scale Mina's powers up too much as well, because it's like if she could start jumping, if Mina could jump 4 tiles, even jumping 3 vertically. I mean, we just talked about it. It's like could be tough to see sometimes. So it's like we had to make sure that it was very constrained in that space, and that meant getting as much as possible out of getting that single jump, which meant that you got to hang just a little bit more when you go over the spikes, and you hang less when you're not jumping over spikes.
I think combat, additionally, it necessitates even more clarity to enemy tells and motions and such. Such a small resolution means that when an enemy comes on screen, there's not a lot of distance between you and them inherently. So when they start doing their moves, when they start moving around, when they start gearing up for attacks, it especially needs to be incredibly readable.
like, did that limitations and like trying to make the game work within those like hit the performance of the game a lot, or did you never really come across that too much?
We actually did slow down on Switch, Switch One, and I mean, heck, across all the platforms. I mean, when the game's not optimized, of course, it always like slows down a little bit. Even a pixel game like Mina, the towers, which are like made of big fake 3D tile parts, and they all move around like a big fake 3D thing. The more tiles on screen, or if there's a bunch of animated water that's taking up the whole screen.
Yeah. There's a big lake that was our biggest slowdown area, and it doesn't necessarily seem like that should be the case until you break it down and realize, okay, there's, hundreds, if not thousands of like individual animating water tiles. And if you interact with an object in the middle of it, you can change the water level, which recycles all of the tiles into a different layout. And so something that looks like a simple Game Boy game oftentimes ended up being deceptively deep.
Yeah, we had to put a lot of effort into optimizing it at the end, but it all runs like a dream, and including 120 hertz FPS on certain platforms, not on Switch One, because I mean they didn't have it. They didn't have 120 back then.
No, that's right. Yeah, back in the old days.
Back in the past.
Art style a little bit. I mentioned to my son that I was talking to you guys, and his eyes kind of lit up a little bit because he did play Shovel Knight quite a lot, and he played it on the 3DS. And I said to him, like, if there's one question you would like to ask the developers of Shovel Knight, what would it be? And he just said that why did you choose 8-bit graphics? Why did you choose that and not something else? So I said I'd ask you for him.
The reason we chose 8-bit graphics is because that was the core of our heart of what we loved and we wanted to make as kids of the 80s. That, I mean, Super Mario 3, Zelda 2, Castlevania, Mega Man 1 through 6. Those are like the games. I mean, and later like Super Nintendo as well, and we loved games, but it's like those that's what we really loved and what we wanted to make. And also importantly, when we were making Yacht Club, that's what we thought we could make, because there was only half a dozen of us, and if we had made some big 3D game, we would have never been able to get it off the ground. And so I mean, for all of those reasons,
I guess I mean, I guess it would have been cheaper as well to do 8-bit than a big 3D kind of game.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. If it's half a dozen of us working for, we're doing a Kickstarter, our resources are limited.
Sure,
then, we can't make a big 3D RPG. The other thing is we were shown the success because of Mega Man 9 and 10. I don't know if you remember those games, but they came out on WiiWare, and they looked like NES games exactly, and they were like throwback retro games.
Yeah,
also,
sprite flickering and all.
Right. It was like what someone made a NES style game, and it was actually like popular. And then it was like the combination of that and then like Kickstarter, Super Meat Boy and Braid had come out, and like Xbox Live Arcade. It was all like the indie space was like starting to grow. And we thought, okay, yeah, this is the perfect opportunity to make an 8-bit game. Yeah.
And you guys kind of, I don't know, we're on that edge of like that becoming popular again, isn't it? Like of the retro style graphics and pixel art, because now it's really a really popular choice for a lot of developers and their games, and for gamers as well, So I guess you guys were right on the precipice of all that, wasn't you?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure. Are pixel games like much more popular now than in 2013? Probably, right?
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Because I think it was like seen as like an old school kind of game, and like people didn't want to play those kind of games. They wanted to play, big shiny 3D games. So I think a lot of people shied away from using that style of graphic for quite some time until it started to come back in.
Yeah, I think things were more of like a hand drawn or like, I remember like Farmville really hit, right? And there was like all those Facebook games that were drawn
Right. Yeah.
like with a very, like cartoony, like cartoon friendly style. That was really popular back then. Yeah, and then like grimdark 3D stuff was like still popular, although we were kind of like coming out of that, right? Like the Gears of War darkness era. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess we were like sort of right there. When I think about the big games that were on like Xbox Live Arcade, there weren't too many pixel games besides Mega Man 9 and 10. It was like Meat Boy had a different look. Or like Explosion Man, you remember that? That was like 3D. A lot of stuff was like 3D. Dude, I love Explosion Man. That game was great.
You do.
I don't know if I've played that. Is it literally someone just goes around exploding?
Yeah, that's
your
mobility option.
Yeah.
You jump by exploding.
Yeah.
Why have I not played this game?
Great question.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah, Ms. Explosion Man is good too.
I think digital distribution is like part of the story as well, right? It would have been difficult to sell a pixel art game in, let's say 2010 as a $50 or $60 retail release. That I don't think that was super viable. But when indies started becoming a thing and all the consoles opened up storefronts where you could just buy games directly, that created a market that I guess we're early to arrive at.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it when it was happening. Yeah, I suppose it was.
You guys are so well known for Shovel Knight, and obviously the game was a great success for obviously many reasons. But like for people that might be walking into Mina the Hollower and probably expecting more Shovel Knight, but under a different skin, what would you say to them? How does Mina diverge from the shadows of Shovel Knight?
Good question. It is. I mean, I would say it is like it's
made by the same people. If you like Shovel Knight, you'll probably like this.
Right. Is it Shovel Knight in a different skin? I mean, no, of course not. But we did approach the whole game like with the same like ethos as we did Shovel Knight. And it feels, when you play it, it like feels like Shovel Knight in the way, I mean, I would say it feels like a Yacht Club game because now there's like two of them and they feel the same. So it's not like it feels like Shovel Knight. It's like they both feel the same. They both have that like polish, but I mean, they are quite different. Mina has RPG elements that Shovel Knight does not have. Mina is like a game where you explore a giant world and there's a ton of equipment. And Shovel Knight is not like that.
Part of the fun Shovel in Mina is navigating and finding your way. Shovel Knight is not like that at all.
So linear. So Shovel Knight's quite linear, and the challenges are like, I'll just put right in front of you. Yeah, so they are like quite different, but they do have the same. They have a lot of like the same hallmarks and a lot of, I would say, the same like gameplay decisions that got made. If you enjoy Shovel Knight, then if you play Mina, there's going to be a bunch of stuff that you're going to look at and go, oh yeah, okay, I could like see why. I can tell that it's like the same group that like worked on this. Hopefully you could kind of see us. You can see us like winking at you through the screen.
I'd hope so. I'd like to think that it's still got your signature touches, but just obviously going in a different direction, which obviously it sounds like that's what's happening.
And there was, I mean, like different team members and different, like a different group. We're different people than we were 6 years ago when we started this, or 10 years, however the hell many years ago when we were making Shovel Knight, 10, 13 years ago, 15 years ago. Yeah. But we're like, we're all a different group in a different space, and the world is a different place as well. So it's like, this is, it's like, it is like Shovel Knight in a new skin if you look at it like that. But it's also like totally different.
And I just want to move on to the music for a little bit. I'm a man who loves some great chiptune music. Like I've recently discovered, I don't know if you say 6 Vs or VVV, VVV.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The letter V 6 times. I've heard it referred to.
I say VVV.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're supposed to say.
You don't say either.
But no, the music of that is very, very good.
Yeah. I mean, I'd heard great things about the game, and I'd never checked it out. And it was on sale on Steam. I thought I'm gonna go for it. I picked it up and I started playing it, and the music kicked in. I was like, "What is this? What is happening here? This is wild. This music is great."
Cool. That's another great one on 3DS. You mentioned 3DS because it's got that 3D. Man, I miss. Don't you miss stereoscopic 3D?
Yeah, it was so good, wasn't it? Bring it back, Nintendo. Bring it
Come
back.
on, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It comes
Let's
back
go.
every 20 years. We just got to wait another 10.
We can't make 3D Mina. It's too hard. It would be too hard to back port to Mina. I ain't doing that.
I'm sure you can manage it. I'm sure. Imagine Mina the Hollower in stereoscopic 3D.
I know.
Be
I have
amazing.
so often. I've talked about it so many times. We can't do it.
Oh no. Yeah.
Anyway, the music.
Anyway, I was just about to say, like, Nintendo should bring back Street Pass as well for the Switch. I mean, that'd be well too.
Yes, I still bring my 3DS with me when I go to PAX and still
Beautiful.
get Street Passes. Yes.
Yeah.
Still got puzzle swap panels to complete.
Right. Come on.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyway, yes, the music of Mina the Hollower, from what I've heard, it sounds great. You know, what was used to make the chiptune sounds, and how did the creation of the soundtrack go in general?
So for Shovel Knight, we did a sort of NES Plus soundtrack. It was the base channels in every NES game, as well as the ones afforded by the VRC6 expansion chip in a handful of games. That was really great because it felt nostalgic to people. It felt familiar, while still providing more room for additional sounds and a more full soundtrack. Something that maybe won't be so like grating to my mom if she's like in the other room, right? Turn down those beeps and boops. So for Mina the Hollower, we wanted to do something similar. There wasn't really like a direct or directly comparable thing like that, like a Game Boy game with expanded sound channels. And so Jake thought that the sound from the MSX would be a really good complement in terms of providing something similar to Game Boy that can round it out and deliver like a very full sound that you could listen to for a while.
Yeah, and so he used Furnace Tracker to track everything out. And Jake, I mean, he's done streams on it, but it's literally he's like typing it into he's like typing it in. It's like C#, for this many dots, and it's all in a big piano roll that looks like the cross between a DOS prompt and like the Matrix. And he's just like doodle 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 as it's like going up, and like you have to tell the note to stop. Like he's working on it, and it'll be like and it'll be like, oh whoops, shunk, and yeah, I gotta like turn that off. It's so incredibly manual. I mean, the Jake Kaufman Vert is who I'm talking about, who wrote all the music. The man is just completely insane and a genius. And I mean, I've been working with him since Contra 4, back at Way Forward, and we have worked on like almost all of our games together. He works on the writing for the games as well. Like Jake knows the game in and out, and so he provides these amazing accompaniments to all of the game, whether it be chill background music.
There's never a moment where we tell him this is like not befitting of the area it's supposed to go in. The vibe is immediately understood and nailed every single time.
And he has such a breadth of knowledge about games, and he's been working on this stuff for so long that every time it's just amazing every time. So he tracks it all out like a crazy person, makes it all available on different channels. Like when you go into the Underlab, it sounds like it uses only the Game Boy channels, and it has like a more
has a completely authentic feel to it when you're down there in the Underlab.
Right, but then like when you jump out, then you like hear all the other tracks, and it's like you hear the rest of it like flooding in, like almost like Banjo-Kazooie style. Like when you go into different areas, you hear like the different sound fonts. It's like Jake did the same thing for Mina. There's over 100.
There's a lot of underground areas. That means every song is basically multiple songs.
Right, and it's like turning the tracks on and off as we go from one area to the other. There's over 100 different tracks written for Mina the Hollower. Well, we've been working on it for 6 years, and he just like kept writing them. So it's like, I mean, I think it's definitely among one of Jake's best soundtracks.
I think it's his best. Additionally, too, I think this one has so much range in musical stylings. towards the end of like Treasure Trove, when we were making King of Cards, I was really fond of all of those like classical music renditions
So
during
good.
like all the card
jazz
fights.
songs are so cool.
Yeah, what a neat juxtaposition, of this style of music that's traditionally like never represented in chiptune. And I think with the soundtrack, you had the opportunity to do so much. There's areas that are jazzy, there's blues, there's that like rock opera Castlevania feeling stuff. I mean, it goes everywhere, yet somehow remains cohesive. It's truly a feat. I love the soundtrack.
And hopefully we could do a live version at some point, like we did the Shovel Knight concert. Hopefully if Mina hits, we could do a Mina concert as well. Also, we totally would be remiss if we didn't mention that Yuzo Koshiro, who of every game I played in my past fame, like Streets of Rage 2 and Dragon Slayer, like on Game Boy, or at least that's the one I mentioned because it's like very distinctive in my mind. But anyway, Legend wrote 2 songs for Mina, and you'll be finding those in the soundtrack as well.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, Jake said that was his dream get, and we're happy we got it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Back in the Shovel Knight days, we worked with Manami Matsumai, who wrote the songs for the original Mega Man, to write some Shovel Knight songs. So that it's like the hits
why not do it again?
Yeah, we have such. Yeah, I mean, we feel very fortunate to be working with like amazing composers. Very lucky.
It's like bucket list stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
And you mentioned a little bit Castlevania there. Is that how the soundtrack is very inspired by Castlevania, or do has Jake just got his own kind of sound going on through the soundtrack?
People always say that Jake has like more of a Konami sound than a Capcom sound, and like for Shovel Knight, he did like his Capcom sound a little bit more. I would say that Mina has like a little bit more of a Konami feel, which does like place it in the like in the Castlevania camp, I guess. So to answer your question, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, you mentioned a little bit about this earlier, but obviously like the game's been heavily delayed from like your original release area. What kind of challenges did you face that resulted in that delay?
It was a lot of stuff. We had first up, like we were talking about, we tried to split into 2 teams and make 2 games at once. And also we were working on like a bunch of publishing projects, and our focus was like very split. That was like one big disruptive thing.
We mentioned too that the project kicked off in early 2020. Something crazy happened about a month or 2 after that.
I must have missed
that. And I mean, we had to transition from a fully in-person studio to a fully remote studio, and there's certainly a lot of growing pains there.
And it was like right as we were staffing up also. So it was like, okay, everybody, see you in the office. And it's like, surprise, we were like never going to get to know each other. So that was like really hard. We had to transition very quickly. And like, all of our figuring out how to use Discord and how to communicate in a way that, when we're all in the same room together, it's easy to catch things when other people are communicating, or to help with something that someone didn't even know they needed help with. That all of that cohesion is like just disappears, and so figuring out how to recreate that was a big challenge. Yeah.
And I think a huge part of it too is a consequence of us trying to split into 2 teams in general. We all have a whole lot of opinions about what makes a good game, and we value those opinions a lot. So it's hard to really know when something is done if you don't have the full attention of the whole company. For most of this game's development, Sean was directing another game, right? And in the past, we'd also like run into issues with this. Like for King of Cards for a little bit, I was leading the design on that while Sean was like on another project, and so collapsing those teams back on one another and finally getting the whole band back together again, I think also really helped with finishing development.
Right. I mean, essentially for the last 2 years, it's like we all dogpiled onto it, and then like that's when it's like we had everything was all it was like this huge game that we had a bunch of pieces that were not all the way like put together, and then like basically the last 2 years was just like putting it all together and like polishing it up. I think the
Yeah.
other thing that made it take so long was just the game was so big and complicated. Like um, testing out all those trinkets like took a lot longer than we thought it was going to.
Right. Back in the day, it took them like twice as long to make a Zelda than a Mario. I now understand why.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right. That's a very good point of comparison.
Yeah.
Good point of comparison. And yeah, I mean, lastly, I think we like underestimated the scope. Like we wrote one line in the doc that said like fishing mini game, and we didn't really like in the production doc we didn't allocate enough time to whatever that was. It just seems like one line, but it's actually like, oh, this is like months of work, and like all the directors for a day, which were really which like added so much to the game. Kickstarter backers got to come in and say, hey, here's my OC that I want you to put in there, and here's how I want them to interact with me. And we kind of we all like juggled these ideas and came up with something new and interesting to go into the game. That stuff, it all just took time that we like didn't allocate properly. But we're not going to do in the next game. We're going to totally. We learned so many good things from this one. Yes.
We also didn't cut anything, like really at any point. You know, we had a grand ambition for this game, I suppose, and we never, rethunk that.
I mean, and it's great that you guys delayed it, you know, because I feel like a lot of other studios will probably feel more pressure from other sources to like just release the game and then, you know, chuck a load of patches out over a certain amount of time. And I always admire the studios that decide, no, we're going to take our time and make sure that we get the best polished experience we can possibly get to our players before we were releasing the game. Yeah, no, always appreciate when a studio decides to do that.
Yeah, well, cheers to that.
I think a lot of our appeal also comes from making a type of game that's becoming like increasingly more rare. You know, a regular single player game with a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a fully featured package that you're excited to just dive in and obsess about.
There's nothing else to buy.
Yeah,
That's what I was at the dentist yesterday, and he's like, your game's only $20. I thought it was going to be $70 or whatever. And he's like, you must be selling a lot of like, costumes, or, you get them in there and you like sell them. I was like, oh, no, bro, we're just selling it once. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Alec.
No, I mean, I really hope that it pays off, because I want to continue believing that people like really value that still happening. Just a normal game coming out.
Just an innocent game, just a normal game.
I appreciate it, and I know a lot of people that will do too. So yeah. Thank you.
I was going to say also, we're like lucky that we could afford to do this. Not everyone can, like, people don't want to put their game out, right? Like, if you have a publisher, then the publisher makes you put your game out, and you say, no, it's not good, I just want more time, like how we did. But instead, we got to turn to ourselves because, thankfully, we have been fortunate enough to have Kickstarter backers and for the game to have sold. So we don't, like, no one can tell us you have to put the game out. That's like...
Yeah, no one was saying we're losing millions of dollars because everyone in charge still believed that we need to make this game as good as possible.
Right.
For better or for worse.
Right. And like, I mean, I know, we're there's plenty of other devs that have had to go through that and like put their game out when it's not ready. And, that's not always a decision that they get to make. So my heart goes out to them.
Yeah, I feel tremendously fortunate.
Right. We're lucky. We're like really lucky.
Well, based off that last conversation, my next question's a bit void, I guess. But, is there a roadmap for Mina? I know like with Shovel Knight, all the extra add-ons were part of the Kickstarter project, I believe. But is there going to be any more Mina after the base game releases? Or as you say, is that going to be it?
The focus has been, until this point, just getting Mina out the door and delivering a really great 1.0 release. Beyond that, I think it's too early for us to really like look that far into the future. I think we need to know also like how well the game is received and if people would want more. But on top of all that, I think I can also confidently say we don't want to do the treasure trove, spend a whole lot of money making a bunch of free games. I don't think we can do that anymore.
We don't want. Yeah, I mean, we literally spent as much time working on Mina as we did on Treasure Trove. Mina is already like all 5 Shovel Knight games worth of effort all put together. Everything that we thought of to put in the game, we, like Alec was saying, we didn't cut anything. We like put it in there. We thought of 60 trinkets. I can't think of 10 more trinkets to put in.
Yeah.
I can't, don't make me think of 10 more. I mean, I guess,
I was struggling so hard to make level layouts at the end. I'm like, I've done everything. Like, what?
But it's not true that we're not going to be putting any more effort into it. There is some stuff, like we talked about, we're going to be adding a warp randomizer. There's already an item randomizer in the game, which like it shuffles the items. So when you play, it's like instead of getting the item out of the chest, you get a totally different item that could be from some other weird part of the game. And we're going to end up doing that with a warp shuffler as well. So it's like you can create it shuffles the warps. Like when you go from a cave, you could emerge and you're like in a dungeon, or it's like a lot. It introduces elements of randomness into the game. We still need to test that, but that is going to be coming in a patch. And also, I'm sure there's going to be people that have all sorts of issues. Who knows? The game might crash. Maybe maybe there's accessibility features. Like I already know there's someone that said there was like a red flash in the game that we're going to like fix that. We're going to do a quality of life and randomizer 1.1 patch, and then we'll probably call it.
Some filters would probably be good to add. People are requesting those.
A filter too.
And
then, but like as far as Mina in the future, I mean, what I've been joking about is making a Mina like extraction shooter, because that's what's cool right now. like 3 Minas. Well, and also we have all of this content. Basically, like imagine Mina Night Rain. It's like three characters come down into the world, and you like open up a chest, and who knows? It's like the whip, the daggers, or the hammer, or like one of the other weapons. It's random. And then within that 40-minute period, like the warp randomizer could be used, or I mean, we would make new level stuff, right? And then you would go from area to area, and within the 40-minute period, you got to all get to the boss and defeat him. You could be in different, maybe you could be in different places and you meet up, or you could all start in the same place, and you'd have to like divvy up your equipment. And we could reuse, like Majora's Mask it. I guess that's what I'm thinking of. Like, how can we reuse the content to do something? That's like putting my producer brain on. But maybe, I mean, if Mina sells 1 million copies, we don't have to do that anyway. But it would be fun. I mean, it might be fun. I don't know.
My turn. I want to do a 1-hour Resident Evil where you spawn in and you don't have any of your equipment, and slowly but surely you find a little bit of magic, a sidearm or two. Oh, thank God, a key. Maybe I can go through this door. A way to experience the game that doesn't take the full 20 to 30 hours, but you get to really quickly see all of the enemies and some of the bosses, and you get to remember, oh, what a fun game that was, without committing to a full playthrough. That's what I want to make.
It's interesting. I mean, it's similar. Like it's similar in that it's trying to give you all the experience of the game in like a shuffled up way.
Right. Yeah, I guess what that suggests is that there's a lot of gold to be mined in all the content that we made.
I was going to say, I am well up for the Resident Evil thing, as long as you don't put a Mr. X style character in there.
We would do that. I'm sorry.
Definitely. Yeah, that's so cool. The Resident Evil 2 remake is like one of our favorites.
I love that game.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. My final question for you guys is, can you describe Mina the Hollower in one word?
I don't know. I want to say classic and innovative, but those are opposites.
I was gonna say whipping.
I love that. That's great. That needs to be on your accolades trailer or something.
Yeah, and you got to say it like in a Jim Carrey impression as well.
Yes.
Whipping.
Once again, a huge thanks to Sean and Alec. Such a pleasure to talk with them and to learn more about the development of Mina the Hollower. If this has spurred you on to consider grabbing the game, then it is set to release on PC and consoles on May 29th, 2026. Go and hit those wish lists so you're ready for when it drops. And if you want to keep up to date with Yacht Club games and Mina the Hollower, then the best way would be their Blue Sky, or consider joining the Yacht Club Games Discord. Links to these will be in the show description. And before I leave you, I would just like to remind you all that we have a Discord server where you can chat to the So Many Games crew and other like-minded people on video games, life and our work. We are running a monthly game club at the moment, and soon a book club where the books connect to a game in some fashion. We'd love for you to be a part of our community, so do come and say hello and let us know what you've been playing. Don't forget to check out somanygames.co.uk, which is full of amazing reviews, articles and interviews, and stick around to the very end of this podcast outro to catch some messages from our fellow creator friends. Thank you for listening, and until next time, please take care out there and happy gaming.
Do you find yourself playing older games and wishing that there were new discussions about those games? Enter Tales from the Backlog. Hi, I'm Dave Jackson, and on each episode, I'm joined by a guest to break down those games that may be stuck in your ever-expanding backlog. Each episode looks at one game in depth, focusing on mechanics, story, music, and other aspects with no spoilers until a clearly marked spoiler wall in the middle. If you've played the game, go ahead and climb that spoiler wall and enjoy in-depth story discussions, and if not, jump out when we warn you and maybe go play that game for yourself. We have over 100 episodes in the feed, everything from Disco Elysium to Tunic to discussion episodes about how to get into horror games, and if games actually need to be fun, or if they have more to offer. I guarantee that there's something in there for everybody. Once again, that's Tales from the Backlog, available wherever your podcasts are found.
Need a little something to help you relax or unwind? Step in a Chillscape, a pocket dimension of relaxing video game music. I'll curate the best playlists with the coziest themes and soundtracks, perfect to study, de-stress, or stare at the ceiling to. Tune in wherever you listen to podcasts, or head to chillscape.xyz for more info. New episodes every other Wednesday. And remember, vibe responsibly.